right. Welcome. This is the Culture and Cannabis Podcast, Season 4. Did I say season? See, I told you guys I was going to mess this up already from the get-go.
Episode 4.
Episode number 4.
I should have just did the intro.
You should have done the intro.
Oh,
You know? So, yes, welcome. Culture and Cannabis, Episode 4, Culture and Cannabis Podcast. I got my co-hosts, my homie, my ace, full-time Tony in the building.
Yeah.
What's good? So we have an incredible episode today. I'm really excited about this. We've been working on it for about a month. We got Jenn T in the building. Jenn has been a friend of mine. We're going to dive into your story of where it kind of goes back to the light group. You've chief of staff, some of your highlights, your low points in the nightlife, how you kind of ended up where you are today in the cannabis industry, doing amazing things, and get into all that. You guys ready for all that?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me out today to do the podcast. Like I told you earlier, when I first got here, this is my first podcast ever.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I heard we had like clapping noises in the background.
Yeah,
I heard, podcasts are hot now.
they are. I heard they're very on trend, and in the marketing world especially, I think it's a great place to get impressions to new audiences, and a lot of people are listening to podcasts now. So I'm excited to enter that world now officially.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
It is.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And what it is, right? It's the Culture and Cannabis podcast, right? Culture and Cannabis is a kind of turning into this kind of community platform in the cannabis space with its roots in events that we do. The events every month that have the vendors and the attendees and the art and all things in between. And we wanted to really just kind of dive into that and lay another layer to that experience with a podcast and bring more value to people that are doing their thing in the cannabis industry. And that's what we're doing. And here you are.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're doing those things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Culture and Cannabis. So I've been a longtime supporter ever since I met JC and started going to the events and getting to bring the brands that I've been involved with as a part of it, and the media companies that I've been a part with get to be a part of it. So now it's cool to be a part of this new evolution of Culture and Cannabis into the podcast world.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. And so, Jenn T, I kind of hear your name get tossed around town. I just as this popular person who's like doing things, doing parties, marketing, all that good stuff. But how did you start? Like, where did that come from? Where did the marketing, begin?
So 2 things. One, where I started doing actual marketing was during my career at the Light Group. I started working with them in 2003 as a promoter for Mist Bar and Lounge. That was a cocktail lounge at the Treasure Island Casino.
So you started as a promoter.
Yeah, passing out flyers, like 2-for-1 drink tickets. And it was kind of the start of the 2-for-1 drink ticket because it kind of had a lot of value back then, where now no one really gives a fuck about a 2-for-1. Like, that's not getting too many bodies in the door anymore. But back then, I actually got paid $7 an hour. That was my rate. And then we were getting so many returns back that the manager said, okay, we're going to start implementing $1 per return. So then it made sense, because at first we're like, okay, I'm getting paid $7 an hour, hustling out here, bringing so many groups in, and then not really getting, sometimes we would get tipped. But then when they implemented the $1 a return, that was like kind of a big deal, because then you could add an opportunity to make, if you bring in a group of 30 people, now you're making like $30 in an hour sometimes. So I started out as a promoter doing that for the company. And then I had an accident at what's it called? I call it Trampoline Palace, but its real name is Sky Zone.
Yes. Deep. That's like Deep Vegas.
Yes, on Boulder Highway.
Yeah, very far.
Yeah, so my boyfriend owned Skate City next door.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I used to go there a lot.
Yep. So my guy I was dating at the time owned that place, and we were at Skate City, and he was like, oh, do you want to go over next door to the Sky Zone and fuck around? So we did. And on the first thing I tried to do, I tried to like shoot a basketball through the hoop, and I twisted my ankle and tore out the ligament in my right foot. So it kind of killed my promoter job, because the whole job is like running around the strip and the casino bringing people in. And I couldn't do that, but my manager at the time was like, okay, Jenn T's doing such a good job. She's our best promoter we've had, and we want to see if we can find her something to do. So then they got me a job in the Light Group office doing reservations and answering the phones and kind of just being the all-around Girl Friday of the office. And I was working in the office doing that, and then at night going to the club and working a couple different things. I was working the retail stand at first. That was my first like inside the club job, and then I became the director of operations assistant director of ops, and that was when I first kind of started doing operations. About a year into that, they needed a marketing director for Miss Bar and Lounge, and I was like, oh well, I'll go back and like do the marketing for it now. I love that place. So that was my first like really long story, but the end of that is the answer to your question. That was my first time doing officially a job that I would say was a marketing position, where we had to do strategic marketing plans and kind of look at who our customer is and what tourists are coming in, and try to acquire customers rather than just having we're open and we're bringing people in kind of a position.
Well, let me stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
Because
Wait, were you in a cast that whole time when you're doing all those things?
Well, I had a moon boot on for a while. Yeah,
Moon boot.
actually.
Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't broken, so it was a torn ligament. So I just had to have a moon boot on for like, I was probably like 8 weeks or something, 6 to 8 weeks maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so listen. So did you grow up in Vegas?
I was born in Las Vegas.
Born in Las Vegas?
Born and raised?
Born here.
Oh, not raised. Sorry.
Yep, I was born here, but then I went to school in Arizona.
Nice.
Yep, I went to high school in Kingman, Arizona, and I went to college in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Nice. What'd you go to school for?
I went to school for business and then for business marketing.
Okay, so you always been kind of like a marketer?
Well, I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something in that business world. To be honest, I kind of went to college without a plan of what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Most people do.
Yeah. But I knew where I wanted to go, and it's so funny. I like actually told a story about this the other night when I was at an event at Sahara Wellness, and it clicked in my mind that night as I was telling the story about everyone was sharing these really emotional stories about things that they had overcome. And I was like, man, what am I going to talk about right now? Like, I need to come up with a good story. And I was like, I'm going to talk about my experiences with cannabis and how it was some certain things you had to overcome during that. But when I was telling the story, I said, I think I always had cannabis present in my life, because when I applied for college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew where I wanted to go. So I applied at Humboldt County, and I applied at NAU in Flagstaff.
Okay.
And then got into both schools, and my friends were all going to Flagstaff. Nobody I knew was going to Humboldt. So instead I was like, all right, well, I don't want to really go out by myself, so I'm going to go to Flagstaff. So that's where I went to college. But I only did like 2.5 years in school, so I didn't actually graduate with a marketing degree.
Nice.
Yeah.
I went to school for like a half a year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I graduated. I went
You graduated?
all
Yeah.
4 years.
Oh, so
What
you-
school did you guys go to?
I went to the University of Nevada, Reno.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Oklahoma State University.
Oh, okay.
OSU.
OSU.
Do you have an OSU tattoo?
I do not.
Oh,
I
for
do
some
not.
reason I thought you did.
No.
That would be
Uh,
amazing if, like, on your other arm was a
Yeah.
giant emblem.
I have some
School.
serious 90s tattoos.
That's
but
what.
just
that-
not.
That's what I can just imagine you right now, just with the OSU tattoo. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Were you guys in fraternities?
Definitely not.
I
no.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely
one?
was.
ATO, Alpha Tau Omega.
Okay. Yeah, I went to school, like I said, in Flagstaff, and almost all of my friends were guys that were in fraternities and then girls that were in sororities, but I actually wasn't in either. But like all my friends that I lived with were in Kappa Alpha was the fraternity that we like all hung around with, and then all of my gal pals were in like a sort of different sororities, but it was fun.
So were you smoking weed in college?
Yeah, I was actually.
Let's talk about your first experience with cannabis. What did that look like?
My very first experience, like as a child, like
Yes.
as a child.
Like the first time marijuana came in contact with you.
Okay, so I guess the first time that I really remember coming into contact with cannabis was in 6th grade. I remember having a friend who had smoked weed, and like I kind of knew that they had done it, but I didn't really do it. But that was when I kind of knew it was a thing. And then in 7th grade, the guy that I liked sold weed, and my friends and I wanted to try weed. So we like raised funds on the playground basically so we could buy a sack of weed.
Nice.
And then we smoked it in my guest house that's on my mom's property. Like we all went to there after school and smoked our $20 bag that we got of like some shitty swag or whatever it was. But that was my first time like getting weed and like having it kind of be something that I was doing. Like me and my friends, we were smoking weed and it was a cool thing to do, and we were hiding it from my brother, and it became something that was a part of my life then. And we weren't doing it all the time back then, but it was something that I definitely immediately knew that I liked and that my body liked. I had a good response to it. And then I didn't smoke a ton in 8th grade and 9th grade. Like I kind of started cheerleading, and I was spending a little bit more time doing some kind of like more sports and athletic stuff, like a little bit, like not a lot, just like a little bit. And then my friend Lynette and I bought weed from her cousin, and we smoked it. And it was my first time smoking what I'll say is like chronic now.
The chronic.
The chronic.
Yes.
And we couldn't fucking drive my car. Like we had to pull over my car on the side of the road. And this is in Kingman, Arizona, where there's only 2 roads, you know. So like there's a chance someone you know is going to drive by if you're pulled off on the side of the road. And I was like, Lynette, I don't know. I can't move my legs. Like I can't drive. Like there's no way that I'm going to be able to shift the clutch of my car. I mean, even if it was maybe an automatic, we would have been able to do it. But the manual transmission, I was like, there's no fucking way. But that was my first time I remember really like getting high. Like before, when we were in junior high and we were buying that swag weed, like we were smoking it, but I didn't really remember getting super stoned ever, or anybody getting like too high. Yeah. But that was the first time that I was like, oh, this is getting high. Like it was awesome. It was scary because we were driving, but we got through it.
I saw Tony earlier today. I kind of felt like Tony was in that same place today.
Oh yeah, no, today was a crazy day. I've just been working a lot, and I was like, whenever I get like too not stressed, but like when I'm like working like in my zone, I'm just like puffing the whole time, like an old man, just like joint, type, joint. Type. So.
Oh, I definitely like smoking a lot when I'm doing computer work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think there's such a need right now for a place to work and smoke, where we can all be like hanging out during the day and having meetings, and
that would be
also having
amazing.
lunch.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be so great. Like a co-working space.
Yes.
With cannabis. Can we make that?
It's happening,
we're working on it.
I'm
working on it.
I'm pretty sure Jenn's gonna.
I saw you on where was that? The city council meeting.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So last week on Wednesday, or this week, what day is it?
It was 2 days ago.
Yeah, today's Friday, March 22nd.
Every time I get asked about this, I get the date mixed up. It's so funny. There's so many meetings. So okay, on Wednesday, they had a city council meeting, and one of the agenda items was the social use venue ordinance. That ordinance has been rewritten a few times, and they ended up not passing it because they said they had so many versions and they needed some more time to think about it. And, you know, when they're putting something to this magnitude into place, I think it's important that it's done right. And so they said they were going to obey the vote until April 17th. And then that also gives them some time where if they don't come to a conclusion on that day, they have until May 1st to do the final vote on this specific ordinance. So that ordinance pertains to the city of Las Vegas only, and it would allow for certain business types to apply for a social use venue permit.
Nice. And of course, we're talking about what's happening here in Las Vegas as social use comes to fruition, right?
Yeah.
And you participated in all kinds of things, right? Trying to push that.
Yes.
And the community, going to the meetings. What have you been doing to kind of help?
So,
with that?
there's the government agencies are looking to the people who kind of have experience in certain areas to, I'm not going to say guide them, because obviously they make their own decisions, but in this space, it's a brand new industry. Mm-hmm. And we are making everything up as we go. Everything from the protocols that we're saying are the ones that have to be in place. Those are things that just got made up, We're testing things and we're looking at other markets and seeing what's working there. So some of the things that I've been helping with is they organized a trip to San Francisco. This was a couple months back, and did a tour with a lot of the different politicians and government representatives to look at what the San Francisco market is doing for social use. So I attended that trip, and that was actually kind of fun because it was me and then a bunch of, like, I think 11 different politicians, and then two people from the media. And it was funny because everybody was like, yeah, Jenn T can smoke, like, try something, it was like, so it was fun doing that. But getting to kind of be a part of those types of experiences, getting to go to the city council meetings that are public meetings and get to make public comments. And what I normally like to make known is that we have a lot of experience in keeping guests safe in a consumption environment, whether what they're consuming is alcohol, or if they're coming into the venue after consuming something else. It's not like people just started smoking weed on July 1st, 2 years ago. They started smoking weed and consuming other stuff at the same time forever, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been dealing with those kinds of guest experiences for a long time, and we want to make sure that it's known that we're ready to provide that same level of not only staff training and security measures, and making sure that the guests have a really good time, but also a really safe time, and then also ultimately get home safe at the end of the night. So those are some of the things that we've been doing, is making our experience known and going and making advisements about ways that we think we can make sure that safety is the number one thing kept front of mind when we're making all the plans for these venues.
Nice.
Did you smoke with any politicians?
No, but I'm dying to smoke with Tick Sagerbloom. I can't wait for the day that we all crack a doobie together in one of these venues.
We should get him on the podcast and smoke one with him on the podcast.
I think this sounds like a really good idea.
We'll have you back on when he comes on.
Okay. So listen, I mean, we talked about kind of like your beginning, experiences with cannabis to all the way with what you're doing now, which is kind of like on the forefront of the social use movement on the planet, right? But let's talk about kind of like where that shift happened for you in your life, right? So you're going through college, you're using cannabis recreationally, as they call it now. What kind of happened in your life to where maybe you learned that it was helping you maybe on a medicinal level, but you didn't realize it then, or when did it kind of show up in your life where you felt like this is something I want to get behind, I want to make a career out of this, I really want to move forward with cannabis? Was there a special time?
Yeah, so there was a couple different key moments, I guess, where I would say I knew it was going to be the path that I was going to stay on. So I told the story the other night at Culture and Cannabis, so I won't retell the entire thing, but I wound up living in Amsterdam for most of 2016. And when I was there, I really learned like what Dutch hospitality felt like, and what that social use, what we call now social use, it's coffee shops over there, and how it just like worked. It wasn't this big scary thing. And seeing how it can kind of translate into a cultural atmosphere. So that was when I first really became kind of aware of how it could be a part of everyday life. I didn't really see it as a medicinal thing yet, to be honest. Like, still while I was there, it was more about, for me, like a feeling that I just felt around it. The going to my coffee shop every morning at 7:00 in the morning and actually smoking a joint that I just bought, and then walking my dog and continuing on my way. Like, that was a part of my life. That was an emotional connection. When I started working with Dope Magazine, when I got back to the U.S., and I really started learning about terpenes and cannabinoids and RSO, and what like certain concentrations of cannabis, and using it in a real medicinal value. Like, I was writing stories about that, and I was doing research on a level that most people maybe don't deep dive into the second that they get involved in the cannabis industry officially. And to me, that was the biggest eye opener. I was like, holy shit. Like, I mean, I knew cannabis saved my life, but I didn't realize that it was like really saving lives, right. So that was when, like, the moment I started working with Dope, like I said, and started kind of learning all of that, I said, I'm never looking back. I can never look back. I had said this too at Culture Cannabis the other night. Like, when at that moment that I was standing in New Leaf and my job was to stand there and pass out magazines, and I thought, man, this is like the easiest job I've literally ever done, and at the same time the most happy that I've ever been was when I was getting to give a magazine to someone and then watch another guy come up to the counter and get some medication that's going to change his life and maybe save his life. Like, that's like fucking incredible, you know? So that was the turning point for me, was seeing the people with the medical benefits and watching them actually come in and make purchases and be involved in all of that.
It is and I know what you're talking about, because I use cannabis, you know, what people now call recreational. We were just smoking weed, right? Like literally our whole lives. But then when the industry started to kind of like legitimize itself, and you know, there's stores opening and it's a real thing, and then I started participating in the industry, I started, you know, realizing, you know, this is saving people's life, and there is this whole other kind of like thing where it's and I think it helped me a lot in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize it was really helping me.
Yeah,
can you guys relate to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like yeah, I mean, I used to take a lot of Adderall, and when I switched from Adderall to marijuana, I feel like that, you know, was a big change for me, and it was like way like less hard on my body too. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely agree. I think I became a better person when all of that happened. You know, I wanted to start taking better care of myself, not only like of my physical self, my emotional self, and my you know, overall, I guess, well-being. And not doing a lot of the things that I think were destroying my body for a lot of years. You know, like the nightlife industry, I feel like is not only dog years, but Vegas years. Like it's even more years, you know, it's cat years. It's crazy living here for so long, where your job is to go out and drink at night. And then in the morning, you still have to get up and go to work the next day. And then you have to do it all over again. And I think it takes a certain type of person to work in the hospitality industry, because you have to truly love hosting guests, and it's fun, but it takes a toll on you after a while. And in the cannabis industry, you have an opportunity to completely heal yourself on all levels, and that's been super rewarding for me, as the growth that I've gotten to experience for my own self too.
I love that, and you know, getting to know you over the years, and having the connection, you know, I come from a nightlife background, and I've seen you and hear you talk about it, and I've enjoyed you getting fulfillment in this industry that you didn't necessarily get from the nightlife, which is rough, right? The nightlife industry is rough, so
yeah,
it's almost like welcome home, right, to cannabis.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just gonna ask you too, like, so like you were promoting, and then you got moved into, you know, inside doing,
yep,
all the different things that you were doing, and then you got pulled up to chief of staff, right? That was your.
So okay, so that happened because so I was working. Yeah, I can pick that story back up kind of where it left off, because it's a perfect timeline. So I was working for the director of operations, and that director of operations is Liam Dwyer, who's my partner now at 7th and Carson Restaurant. So we've kind of had a reunion now, you know, 1,000 years later, working as partners. But back then I was Liam's assistant director of operations, and the CEO and owner of the company, Andy Massey, said, sorry, Liam, I'm going to steal Jenn. And like in one day that happened. So then I immediately moved over to work with Andy Massey, and literally he taught me everything that he knew and I knew. And we worked together side by side for 12 years doing all of the development for all of the venues, and kind of creating a lot of the plans for overall marketing and operations. And then I eventually moved into the chief of staff position for the last probably 8 years that I was with the company, and that at that point was overseeing a lot of the operations teams and the corporate team, and overseeing the marketing teams, and kind of leading all of the planning for those departments. So the chief of staff position was the last 8 years, but then the first 4 years was kind of building that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, now you good?
Yeah.
You good over there?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna sneeze, and then it was a cough.
So I mean, how long you been in the cannabis industry? It's been a couple years now, 2-3 years.
Yeah, so it's been 3 years. that I've officially been in the cannabis industry.
And you've been making major waves. You've been really making an impact. Would you attribute to some of your impact through what you learned through your past, through Andy Massey and?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's still a lot to be seen for what we have the ability to do on a development level for the cannabis space. But I'd say for now, what's been the biggest help has been a lot of the connections that I've made and friends that I've made, and being able to get to work together with friends now. I think a lot of people that I know have crossed over from other industries, people who are locals of Las Vegas, even if they're locals who aren't necessarily from here, but, people who've been here a long time that were coming from other industries who are now crossing over into cannabis. And I think those kind of connections and getting to work together has definitely been my favorite part. And I think all of the stuff that we've learned along the way for event production and stuff like that has been crucial too. But I think the best is yet to come. I think, when we get to open like a cannabis nightclub, that's going to be the best thing that's ever going to happen.
What does that look like? What is the?
So for me, I think a cannabis nightclub would, in a perfect world, I did like when the ordinance had beer and wine in it, because I think there are people who maybe aren't going to be smoking the whole time, and you always want to be having your whole group be able to come and not have anybody feel left out because they're not consuming what's available. So in my perfect world, the dream cannabis nightclub is, it's close to the Strip, and it has beer available, it has wine available, it has a awesome stage, great talent, lots of fun programming. In my eyes, it would be something that could compete with the other properties that are available on the Strip, where we are booking the same level of talent. And you could go to any of those clubs, or you could come to ours and you can also smoke.
Right.
I think it should look the same.
Yeah, I do too. And it, unfortunately, it's, they have to regulate it in a certain way and tax it every way and make sure everything it's legal. And it looks like through the council meetings, right? It probably is not going to happen this year, maybe. I don't know, right? And if it does happen, there's probably not. You mentioned it. There's going to have open consumption lounges, but you're not going to be able to buy alcohol, and then you have to bring your own cannabis. Is that kind of the way it looks for now?
Well, right now there are 3 different versions of the current ordinance available. They're all listed online on the LasVegasNevada.gov website. They actually yesterday released a link that has all of the information that's listed in all 3 ordinances, and they're all 3 different. So one does still have the alcohol in there, and then the other 2 have it removed. So we're going to see what happens. I honestly, I can't really predict it, because every day there's a new, something new that kind of comes up. But I do think that we will have some version of a law, an ordinance, or a bill before the end of the year that will allow for the issuance of these permits. Whether or not they have venues open by the year end, I'm hoping for it, and I'm trying to manifest it. So yes, I'm going to say yes.
Are we gonna throw some cannabis events together?
We always do, right? I can't wait to throw like the real rager, right. The one we've been like dying to throw.
It's gonna happen.
Where we're smoking a blunt on stage with A$AP Ferg, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne. Any of those will work.
Yeah, those all.
Any of those guys will be fine.
Too
for
short?
my first stage blunt.
Yeah.
Too short. Yes.
Too short. Yeah. What are you doing right now in cannabis, though? Not looking into the future, like present day. What are you doing?
So Connect Hospitality is right now offering marketing, advertising, and event solutions. And then social use is our 4th vertical that we haven't totally activated yet, besides, lobbying and trying to get it going. So on the marketing, advertising, and events side, we have a portfolio of State Flower Cannabis, Valhalla Edibles, the Apothecarium Dispensary, Cannabis and Cannabis Museum is our event venue, and then Change by Day CBD is our CBD brand.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have one product in each category, I guess you could say. So we're providing marketing and advertising and event-based solutions for those brands and products right now.
Yeah, Cannabis is really cool too. We got to walk through it the other day, but tell us a bit more about it.
So Cannabis is the first of its kind, completely interactive and immersive cannabis art museum and experience, really. It's a museum, but it's fully interactive and Instagrammable, and it has tour guides that take you through a seed to celebration journey through like 20 different exhibits in 12 different rooms. They have the world's largest bong. The team at Jerome Baker Designs blew a 24-foot uranium glass, fully functioning bong. So Bongzilla, she's on display there. Yeah, so it's a crazy venue, and my company does the events and sponsorship marketing for Cannabis.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're also doing in hospitality, like restaurants and stuff of that nature, right?
Yeah, so, well, 7th and Carson is really my last hospitality project that I would say isn't cannabis.
Okay.
But like I said, my old pal, Liam Dwyer, brought the project to me 2 years ago and said, do you want to do this venue? I know you're in the cannabis industry now, but let's work on this together. Why not? Let's do a downtown venue. So I said, oh, of course, like, yes. So 7th has kind of been, it's been fun because it's given us, I obviously love the restaurant. We just got Restaurant of the Year 2018 from the Nevada Restaurant Association.
Nice. Congrats.
Yes, thank
I
you.
saw that. Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
nice.
So it's been awesome seeing it grow, but what's been cool about the crossover for cannabis is we've been able to have a friendly space that is very obvious that it's not a consumption venue, that we've had the opportunity to host, probably 10 or 12 different events. We hosted an event with quite a few different organizations in town, different fundraisers that we've done, and then did a lot of Dope Magazine event mixers there, and we just did the National Cannabis Industry Association event mixer there. We did a Culture and Cannabis there.
Yes, we did. We kind of did one. Yeah.
We
In the parking lot.
There was absolutely no consumption during that event, but it was a good night. So it's been cool to have a downtown space that we can host events at in the meantime while we haven't had a consumption venue. That's it's just a cool spot to hang out.
Yeah. What's we were down there the other day, but what's kind of the vibe down there at 7th and Carson?
So the vibe is like we try to kind of keep it a little bit of a pub.
Yeah.
Like we call it a nice little drinking spot with really great food.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the chef, Greg Fortunato, he's amazing, and he's got a really great background. He had a restaurant on Spring Mountain that was called Inyo, and that was his first private venture or personal venture, but he was also with Blue Ribbon Sushi and then Roy's before that. So he's got a cool fusion background. So we kind of did this American shareable menu, but then there's a little bit of a fun twist on each of the items. So it's pub vibes with great food, great shareable food.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, you're doing a lot of stuff, right? We're talking about all these things. You've worked your way to where you are now, and I think a lot of people look up to you. I've certainly.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I do. I've certainly enjoyed working with you and getting to know you and all that. What do you think really kind of like attributes, a lot of your success as a woman doing what you're doing? What is there one thing? Is there a couple things? What would you say to some people looking at what you're doing and hope to kind of go on the same path?
I think you kind of just got to go for it. Like if you have an idea and you want to do something and there is I'm not going to say a clear path. If there's any path that you can get on, even if you have to completely start that path up, then just fucking do it. Like there's a lot of days that I don't want to get stuff done or I just don't feel like doing it. But then I say, okay, if I don't go do this today, then I'm not putting in as much effort as I can. And if the thing doesn't happen at the very end, I would never want to look back and be like, fuck, if I just went that day to the thing, then maybe that was going to be the day the thing happened. Mm-hmm. And I've also kind of noticed that when I do follow, kind of follow the signs of the universe, if you will, and I kind of say, okay, I'm just going to start making my own stuff happen. That's when really cool, instances and occurrences and run-ins, and you bump into one guy and then he's got something to tell you about this thing, and the next thing you know, you're meeting someone else, and that's when the true magic happens. So I think, I just attribute it to just doing it, even if I don't feel like doing it, and doing all of it. Like, go to all the stuff. If you want to try to get into this industry, go to all the things, go meet everybody. There was, okay, wait. And I also want to say, on that note, one thing I will attribute to my like cannabis networking success was working for Dope and having the business development manager role, because my job was literally, I mean, I had a lot of like KPIs and stuff that I had to do that was actual stuff, but for the most part, they wanted me to just go out and meet every person. So I remember one night I was at the Women Grow event when it was at the Shenandoah. And there was a moment where I introduced two people. It might have even been you and someone else. And I was
I
like,
do remember that. Yeah.
I was like, you two don't know each other? What the fuck? Like, I feel like I know you both so well, and you're both so well known, and you didn't know each other. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I go out every single night, and I go to every single like thing there is to go to. And that's how I met everybody. So I would say just putting myself out there and having the opportunity to have a really awesome job, that was what I got to do. I think those were some of the key things that helped me with my success for sure when I was starting out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Super rad. How was working for Dope?
The best ever.
Are you still working with them or no?
So I'm not in an official capacity working with Dope, but we definitely still get to work on a lot of events together and share resources. And yeah, I love the team at Dope and the Dope fam for life, you know.
Dope fam for life. Yeah, we just had David Tran on. Yeah, he was really awesome.
He is the best. David Tran is definitely one of my favorite people ever.
The Tranimal.
Father Tran.
Yes.
They have the Dope Cup this weekend. Is it this weekend?
Yeah, the Dope Cup is this weekend.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we were supposed to go, but
yeah, I'm not going to be at the Dope Cup, but my CBD brand, Change by Day, we're one of the sponsors at Women of Weed, which is a High Times event that's happening next weekend.
yes.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
That's at Boulevard 3, a little bit outside of, no, it's in LA. Yeah, in Hollywood. Yeah.
Okay.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So I love how you, I look at you kind of as a creator, and especially what you just kind of described, just kind of jumping off. There is really no like secret, right? It's just kind of like, just do it, right? Just get going, get to work, and, and then things start manifesting, right? So let's talk about manifestation in your life, and what's new, what's Connect look like here in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years. Okay, so I have a plan to be either on an island, on a boat, or just doing whatever I want by 40. So within the next 5 years, I'll say be on a boat, island, or doing whatever the fuck I want. But the path that we're going to take to get there is, our goal is to create really incredible brands in like the product and actual brand space, but also with the venues that we want to build, and create national brands, hopefully international brands, and stuff that can transcend, I guess, like this moment, right? Like we want to build stuff that's going to be able to last. And I think there's certain brands out there that I can say I would think that about. And I want us to be able to create certain experiences that feel the same as that, so in 5 years, I think we might even have federal legalization within 5 years.
Yeah, potentially.
So I'm kind of hoping that we have social use venues and brands and products all over the country by then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Listen, it's like I said earlier, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. I hope that we continue to get to work together and really continue to do some incredible things together. And, I think we'll kind of wrap this up. But you want to shout anything out? You want to talk about what?
Here's your plug time.
Yeah. Let's get it in.
Okay.
Where can they find you, first of all?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram at Jenn T Connect. It's JENNT, and then Connect is with an A. And yeah, find me at 7th and Carson a lot of times. That's kind of my remote office, or at Cannabition. That's my other remote office. But things I want to plug would be Cannabition. Obviously, we're working to book a lot of events there over the summer. So that's going to be a hot spot. I know we're working on some cool stuff for 420, potentially for Memorial Day. We want to start building some cool stuff around the different holidays and key trade shows. So there's that one. And then my CBD brand, I always love to give a plug. It's called Change by Day. And you can check that out at changebyday.com.
Nice.
Dope. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
appreciate it.
so much. I want to say thank you for having me, and you guys are both awesome too. I can't wait to build amazing things together.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, thanks Chuck.
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. Nice. Good job.
Cool.
Good.
Thanks guys.